Welcome to the HeartStream Musings podcast, a podcast to help you on your journey of self-love. I'm your host, Lisa Mae Francisco, a self-love coach and inner child guide. In the podcast, we'll dive deep on how to heal your inner child wounds, break your relationship patterns, and liberate your truth so you can claim the relationships in life that you deserve. Thanks so much for listening. I'm super excited that you're here. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm super excited for this episode. I always say that. I think it's just something that I'm used to saying. But no, I feel super chill right now in my bedroom. I have candles lit up and I am just in a super chill mood to chat. And I try to create this cozy little hygge, means cozy in Danish, this vibe of just really allowing myself to just open my heart. And I wanted to create this type of environment because today I'm actually going to be talking about what it means to create a cosmic home for yourself and others. And I think this topic is so pertinent, especially if you want to have children and a family, and why it's important to do this inner work before you even call in a partner. Not to say that you can't do this work even if you are in partnership with someone, but I think it's really important to find yourself, to work on your wounds and know yourself in a way. So if it does come up, you're able to understand yourself in a deeper level that can allow your partner, your family to know what's coming up for you because you know what's coming up for you. And how all of this deeper inner work just ties back into our inner child wounds and why it's so important to heal them. And the magic of doing this deep inner work is all about creating a cosmic home for yourself and others, to me, because a lot of the healing happens at home, right? So a lot of the experiences that are being created between you and your family dynamics get brought out into society, into the collective, whether you're showing up at work, whether it be at school, with friends, whomever is experiencing your presence. And so the greatest gift that we can give to people is the level of understanding we have for ourselves, personal development, the strive to become better people. And I am so excited for you to listen. So let's get to it. And the reason why I even have this topic of conversation, I was actually going to talk about EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping, and my experience with it, but I'll just save that for another episode. But I really wanted to talk about this because I know that when I am in the process of creating, I really love to tune into what's new and fresh. And when those downloads are super clear, I try to not let it get away from me and just be really present with what's coming up and what's current. And that's just, actually strengthening that muscle of my intuition, strengthening my muscle of trusting myself in the timeline, and just intuitively understanding creatively what is real and what's coming up for me. And so the reason why I'm sharing this is because recently over the holiday weekend, so we were celebrating Memorial Day weekend and over here in the States, and it is an opportunity for us. We love to go outside. We love to travel. So me and my family, we ended up going to Sea Ranch, and it's in Northern California. If you haven't visited, it's absolutely beautiful. I love Northern California beaches. They're actually kind of mystical because the fog just rolls in and it's just beautiful evergreen trees, and the water is just, it's cold. I'm not going to lie, it's cold as fuck. But it just has this level of mysticism and deep inner wisdom that I feel activated every time I go to the beach in Mendocino County or Sonoma County, especially in those areas. And I think it's because I just have this preference towards trees, beautiful trees, and the energy. Every time I go for my walk, for my daily walk, I actually hug trees. I just feel called to. I can't describe it. Maybe you're a tree hugger too, but there's just something that, I don't know, I guess the tree energy just summons me to hold it or just be around it or connect to this deep kind of grandmother essence that I feel when I'm around trees. And so not only do I feel the water just as a purifying element of cleansing and renewal and rebirth, but I also, when you have these beautiful, beautiful trees, these redwoods sometimes around in that space, I feel like the electromagnetic field is just amplified even more so. I love going up north. It's a way for me to ground. It's actually the first time, I think a couple years ago, where I truly felt um, this mother energy kind of evoked in that way when I was in Mendocino County, and it's just always felt very real when I'm there, and I just love being in that space. And so I had this beautiful opportunity to go visit Sea Ranch with my family, with my partner, my beautiful nephews, my sister, her husband, all that good stuff. And I just absolutely love, 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 love spending time with my nephew. He is my favorite person in this world. He is the funniest person that I know. He is the smartest person that I know, and he always teaches me new things. And it's so funny because as I'm saying this, I feel as if every mom or aunt will say this about their child or will say this about their family member. But I do have a very special bond with my nephew. And we like to call him Wiggly because he always wiggled in my sister's stomach when he was a baby. And so that's just his nickname. It kind of just stuck with him. And it's just very cute how he responds to it. But I I just love being around him. And so any chance that I have an opportunity to be in his presence, I will always be there. And I think I talked about it in some of my content on Instagram where I share about how he's one of my, I would say he's a tiny Buddha. He is, and he doesn't even know it. And I love that when he came out of my sister's womb, he always just had this deep sense of self at such a young age, this strong willed determination to be very expressive. I don't know what it is about children today, but I think it's just all of the consciousness, the teachers that are in the rooms teaching children how to use their sacred nose at such an early age. Such an early age. I mean, if there is something that my nephew doesn't like me doing, he will tell me. I think I was hugging him for too long. I think this was maybe a couple months ago, and he just said, "I'm done. I'm done." And that was it. He's just very expressive about what his needs are. And I remember when my partner and we were carving pumpkins. My partner just loves carving pumpkins during the holiday or the Halloween season. And my nephew just wasn't really into it. He was kind of over it. He just wanted to watch TV. And at that age, I don't think you really understand cognitively I don't think you really care about being liked. You don't. I actually don't think you care about being liked. You just express yourself and your needs. And so we asked my nephew Wiggly to come and hang out with us and carve these pumpkins. And he just said, no, no, I just can't. went inside the house and just wanted to watch TV. And then he asked my sister, "Can you turn on the TV?" He wanted to watch Daniel Tiger. And so every time I'm with him, I'm always just learning something of what it means to embody your truth, of what it means to say no without even thinking about the consequences of how this will land with someone else, but more about honoring how it lands with you and whether or not you're interested in participating in something, or whether or not you want someone to speak to you in a certain way, or whether or not you want someone to touch you, right? Saying no, or I want this, or I want that. Sure, sometimes it can be in a tantrum, but what I admire most about him is that he's able to honor himself, his inner truth, this fire energy that I see so loudly expressed in his bold statements. And I just love it. And I love being around that energy. And so, it was just a beautiful weekend as we were celebrating in Sea Ranch. And I remember, we were playing. He wanted to hang out with us, and it was just absolutely beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And we were packing up. We had been there for a couple of days, and my partner and I were packing up our stuff. We were putting it in our trunk. And Wiggly is best friends with my partner. It's really cute how special their bond is. I have a really special bond with Wiggly, but his bond with my partner Ben is just even more special. And it's really sweet. And they just always love hanging out with each other, and they're always holding hands. It's just really, it really moves and opens my heart. And I remember as I was putting stuff away, I got irritated. I got irritated because my partner didn't organize the back of the trunk well for me to put my stuff in there. I'm trying to move things with one hand. I'm just getting so irritated. And Wiggly is there in between us, and he's holding my partner's hands. And I just got irritated. I just said, "What are you doing?" Blah, 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 And Wiggly just looks at me, and he pauses and he doesn't say anything. And it literally felt like fucking like 10 minutes of him just staring at me. I'm probably over exaggerating. I know I am, but it felt like forever. And he just stared at me. And my partner said, "Oh, why is Auntie Lisa yelling at us right now? Let's go. We don't want to listen to yelling." I just thought, fuck. And they leave. They go play with the water hose to just wash off our car from all the pollen that we had from driving up here from SF. And that really stuck with me. His look, that image of him just look at me. And mind you, he's only 3 years old. Only 3. And of him looking at me and staring. And it left me feeling shameful about, oh, why did I get so irritated? Why did I raise my voice? And wondering why I was acting like that towards my partner. And also forgetting that there was this child there in front of us, and kind of just assuming, oh, he doesn't understand. Or when you're with your partner, you can just speak to them like that. It's almost as if, when you first date someone or are with someone, you tend to show your best side, and you wouldn't speak to them like that. So why is it over time you are able to just speak to them in an unkind way? And granted, all of us have our frustrations. I'm not saying you have to be Buddha or Mother Teresa, but these questions just came up to me. And I felt really awful because of that look that was given to me. And oftentimes, I'm a pretty I do a lot of self inquiry. No one has to force me to do it. I mean, I'm honestly coaching myself 24/7. I'm in my brain to a point where I love to understand my inner realm, my inner world, and just go deeper of how am I experiencing the world? What is coming up for me? How are other experiencing me? Is there anything that I need to change? And I think it comes back to just this foundation of working with different teachers, being in 12-step groups, and just always having to take inventory of your behavior and how other people are experiencing you in the world. And I will honestly say that having this self awareness of myself, my inner landscape, and understanding where things come from is probably one of the keys to my healing and my transformation of where I've currently been up to this date, and knowing the things that I need to change in order for me to magnetize the things that I want from my heart. And so, as I was thinking in the car about this, as my partner was driving, I apologized to him and I said to him, you know, I'm really sorry about how I kind of just snapped at you. And he actually forgot about it at that point. He said, "Oh, when? Back there? Oh, that's okay, scat." Scat means treasure in Danish. It's a term of endearment. I equate it to baby, how a lot of Americans say babe or baby in America. But he actually didn't even remember, and so I said, "Oh yeah, back there in the trunk when I was putting stuff away, it was a little unkind, so I'm really sorry about how I was acting." And he said, "Oh, that's okay." And he just kind of rolled it off his shoulders and just brushed it off. And for me, I remember when just being in this relationship with my partner of not knowing how to have repair in a relationship, of when you fight with someone, not knowing what it looked like. And that can just sound like such a big, lofty term or in therapy, and, having to do it right way or not being modeled certain things. And when really it can just be as so simple as just acknowledging when you were out of line and just saying sorry. You have to actually relinquish your ego enough to know to call yourself out. I think the power of being able to call yourself out when you do something wrong is so important. Sure, it's great to have a community to do that for you and with you and point things out and identify those things of where you need to improve, but I think there's more power in being able to do it yourself, right? And that requires a level of humility of what that means. And so, as I was explaining to my partner and apologizing and realizing, oh, this is actually a form of repair. It's acknowledging the fact, hey, I was pretty unkind to you and I'm sorry and I apologize. And the act of learning to improve and not necessarily not do it again, but strive to not to, right? Because that's where the true apology, the true amends is being able to be better next time. Because if you keep doing it again, then you'll just be the person who cried wolf and your apologies just won't mean anything, right? And so it's all about having integrity to your repairment with another person, whether it's your partner, family member, friend, work colleague, whatever it is, stranger. I mean, yes, literally stranger. I do remember, literally, it was just maybe a month ago. I was almost going to be late meeting someone, and I people were at the crosswalk, and I literally just went fast to go get this parking spot, because I didn't want to be late. So selfishly, I just didn't want to be late. And I just felt so awful because these people were surprised and they just kind of looked at me thinking, what the hell, girl? Why are you driving so fast? Da, 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 da. We're at the cross street and, they didn't say anything to my face. But as I was going back as I got out of my car and I was going to the place that I was supposed to meet a friend, I was looking for those people that walked the crosswalk. And I found them at this convenience store. And I went into the convenience store and I said, I am so sorry. I apologize. That was me in the car. I was going so fast and I'm really sorry. And I apologize. And they just laughed and they said, no, it's all good. Right. And so there's something about really acknowledging other people and your presence and how you make them feel in this world. And knowing it's kind of like that golden rule, just treat others the way you want to be treated. But it's more important to, there's all these conscious workshops, conscious relating, conscious relationships, and da 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 da. When really you can just practice it on the day to day of understanding how you show up in the world and how you affect other people. That is what it means to be conscious at the most simplistic level. And you can do it now. Sure, you can go to a workshop and understand different meanings of how to do it. But if you want a practice now, do that. Say hi to someone when you're at the store. Ask them how their day is. Be conscious, be present with them, be present with you, be present with other people in their presence. And so it's just so important to be in your body, be in that space. And so, anyways, I kind of just digressed, but it all relates. It's all relative, right? And so we go stop at the Sea Ranch Lodge. We get coffee. I get my chai, all that stuff. And my nephew needed to go to the bathroom. So I go with him to the bathroom and I am washing his hands. I'm washing his hands and I tell him, because I wanted to honor him. I want to acknowledge him, right? I'm the type of person that I try to strive for believing that everyone is equal. I'm not going to lie to you and say, oh, I think everyone's equal, right? I have my ego too. And, my desire for power dynamics, feeling not in power, feeling power, all that stuff. Okay. I'm human. And I strive to treat everyone equally, including my nephew, treating him as an adult, treating him how I would want to be treated, and giving him time and space to express himself. And so I was washing his hands and I wanted to acknowledge my behavior to him. And so I tell him, hey, do you remember when we were at the car and I was acting kind of upset with Uncle Ben and I just wasn't very nice? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, what were you trying to do? Were you trying to put something in the car? And mind you, sometimes when you're talking to little kids, sometimes I don't think they have a fucking clue of what I'm talking about. I just kind of assume that they're not going to be coherent in this conversation or they can't even hold a conversation, right? But then that's just me assuming, right, that they don't know any better than I do. But really, they're the ones with the magic. They're the ones that aren't even fucking tainted by society, conditioning, and programming. So they are their most purest, unadulterated form. And when you're around that energy, it is so fucking refreshing. I highly encourage you to be around children because they will totally invoke you to connect to your inner truth and your magic. And so when he was saying those things to me, I just thought, I was actually demystified. I thought, oh my God, he knows. He knows. He actually sensed my different energy. He sensed when I was irritated, when I was angry, when I became mean. He sensed these things. And so, as children, even though they may not be able to express themselves through words, their first language is somatic. It is the unknowable. It is that inner knowing. It is intuition. And they are the most highly powerful beings on this planet because they can sense things and they are very in tune with their body. They are very in tune with their heart and they're out of their head. In fact, I think that is such their superpower, and the biggest blessing that they have is that they have no semblance or awareness of time because they are truly present in this moment, experiencing everything as if it is new. They always have this beginner's mindset, and so there's this sense of pure joy of how they experience the world. And so being and looking and seeing things through their eyes is just a blessing and it's such a gift. And so the fact that he was able to sense this shift in energy and the fact that he was able to understand this at such a young age just blew me away. And I explained to him, yes, I was trying to put something in the car and it wasn't very kind of me to act that way. And I apologized and I'm sorry if that scared you. And I asked him, did that scare you? And he said, yeah. He said, yes. And so I just truly want you to think about, and it really put two and two together for me, right? I do a lot of one-on-one coaching where I work with people. And a lot of the times they come to me with this present challenge, right? It's current, it's in the moment. Maybe it's about work, maybe it's about themselves, maybe it's about their partner, their family members. And that is why I love EFT, because it allows us to go to that primal place that's pre-verbal. That those experiences where you couldn't use words, but you feel like somatically in your body. And so when my nephew described to me that he knew this, right? And how little time it took to acknowledge what had happened. And so when you acknowledge what a child is feeling, hearing, thinking, all of that stuff, experiencing, you are creating and strengthening their ability to self-trust because you are validating. That is so fucking important. And I say that very powerfully because when my clients come to me and they tell me about these things that are somehow they're able to bring to their conscious because we do this EFT tapping, it comes from when they were children, right? It comes from oftentimes when people were unable to validate what they were experiencing. And so when you're not able to be validated in your experience as a child, you repress that and it gets stuck in your body. And then it becomes a trigger. And then it becomes somatic because someone in your present moment just triggers you. And then you don't understand why you're acting the way you're acting. And it's because someone in your past didn't honor, acknowledge what was happening for you in that moment and didn't create a safe space for you to process that. There was no moment of repair. And so by having that experience, I realized how important it is to have self-awareness, right? Of what was coming up with me, what was happening with me. Acknowledge it to my partner, acknowledge it to my nephew who is only 3, and then strive to do better. And so when you think about putting all of these things together, it's so important to connect with yourself because as you start to, maybe you're in partnership, maybe you're not in partnership, maybe you have children, maybe you want children or don't want children, whatever it is. But it's just how you show up in this world and how you acknowledge how you connect with other people. and why it's so important to understand how it is integral to connect to your inner child wounds, right? And as an adult, when you're around children, you can either be the one creating inner child wounds for other children, or you can create healing experiences for them so that they can grow up in this world feeling whole and one, not only with themselves, but with other people. And so I really just encourage you to look at this as an opportunity to think, how closely am I connecting to myself? And it can be very simple, at the end of the day, just thinking about what happened today, but when you're lying in bed, did I have any triggers? Okay, what happened? What went on? What made me really upset? It's important to tune in. It's important to check, and not the kind of where you say, "Oh, hey, how you doing? I'm great. I'm okay." Okay, it's not a feeling, but actually doing it with yourself, of checking in and asking. And I do this with my clients. I say, okay, self-love check-in. I text them. And so just do a self-love check-in with yourself. Connect to yourself and think about, how am I feeling today? What am I thinking about? What am I experiencing? How am I showing up in the world today? Is there anything bothering me? Because the more that you're able to bring self-awareness to yourself, the more you're able to show up in a way that you feel proud of. And when you feel proud of yourself, you start to lessen the shame. And when you start to know yourself, you're able to create consciousness. And when you're able to understand your inner realm, you're able to respond instead of react. Responding means that you're present. Reacting means you're not. You're reacting from your subconscious. And so just really tune in and think about these things. And think about also, if you have children, right? That they know. They know, even if they do not know how to express themselves and articulate what is going on, just because they don't have the vernacular or the vocabulary or the language to. They have these feelings. Maybe it comes up in tummy aches. Maybe it comes up when they're crying. But really, really understand that they have big emotions. They don't know how to navigate them. So it's your job as a parent to help them navigate that, to help them make sense of that, and just hold space for them having their emotions. That is it. Helping them make sense of it. Because when you help someone make sense of it, you help them learn how to regulate. And that is one of the most important things that we can have as adults, is being able to learn how to regulate ourselves. And so when I tell you to, or encourage you to use that tool of just having a self-love check-in, that is a form of regulating your nervous system, regulating your emotional world, your inner realm. And when you build that connection to yourself, of understanding yourself, it's almost like creating this playbook that you can give to a partner, that you can give to a child, you can give to a coworker, all of those things. And it's important to do this inner work because, like I mentioned in the very beginning, that healing takes place at home. It's where we learn everything. It's where we learn our social dynamics. And I see this a lot where clients come to me and they say, I didn't learn these things. I don't know how. Or I learned how to be a perfectionist. I'm afraid to be seen because my mom did this. I'm afraid of angry people because my dad was angry all the time. I hear that. And so, and I often take this back too, and I ask some of my clients, do you think that would you want yourself as a mom, right? Would you want yourself as a mom? Would you want yourself as a partner? All of those things. And if the answer is no, well, then there you go. where you need to improve. And so really taking the time, sometimes it's hard to be in this sort of hermit mode where we have to go inwards, and the things that we want to manifest aren't happening yet. And just having faith and trusting and knowing and surrendering that all of the experiences you're having in this moment, you are being initiated into having the things that you want, into having the things that you desire. And knowing, what does it mean to be your own divine mother or parent or father? And what does it mean to be your own divine lover? And so just really thinking about that. How can you parent yourself first? How can you connect to yourself first? How can you help yourself regulate your emotions and make sense of the world that you're creating? And also how you show up with other children in the world, any child, right? Sometimes it's so easy to think, oh, I want a family. I want a family. But why? Would you be a good mother? Because it's not just enough to have, a child to check mark this box, right? But what does it truly mean? I wholeheartedly believe that when you have a child, it's one of the most important jobs. You're raising a human being, and that takes precedence over other things. It's not just for you anymore. You can't be completely selfish. And that's what that reminded me of when I saw my nephew's face when he was looking at me of, wow, I need to be better. I need to be better, and I need to acknowledge these things that come up. I can't just brush them under the rug, because then that teaches him that that's okay, and making sense of and validating what he sees, because that is true. Just because a child is younger does not mean that they don't know any better, right? Or that they know less. The only difference is that you just have more experience of being on this earth. And so I really hope that this episode encourages you to connect to yourself even deeper, to understand the importance of why we must do this deep inner work and how it shapes other people's internal worlds, their external worlds, and the importance of doing it, and how it helps you just initiate into this chapter of yours. It's almost like the Hanged Man card in tarot. The person is hung upside down, but there's this level of calmness, right? And so when you flip everything upside down and you start to look at it a way where that vision is normalized, you start to see things in a different way. And so I really encourage you to just connect deeper and understand what it means to create a cosmic home for yourself. What does that actually mean for you in the grand scheme of things? What kind of home do you want to create? Because it's so easy to want to call in a partner because your insecure attachment is just being activated, right? But if you want a family, that partner is going to create a dynamic with you that the child is going to take on and bring out into this world. When you choose a partner, it's not just for you. When you choose a partner, it could potentially be the, parent of your child if you feel called to have children. And so expand your mind to think in that sense, not just from your hormones or anything like that, but truly understand, what does it mean to have this conscious relationship, this cosmic home, right? It's just not enough to fill that box anymore. Check mark all the boxes of what it means to have your dream, but truly understand how your decisions affect other people. And so I hope this episode serves you. I was actually just I did the whole episode with my eyes closed, and I just really felt what was in my heart, what was resonating. So that just felt really good. But I'll end it there. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my story about my experience. I hope this episode serves you, makes you think in a different way. Let me know what you thought about it. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can check out my website, lisamaecoaching.com. I have a page where I list all of my offerings. I'm actually booked out for my summer round. Woohoo! But the next round of coaching will begin in the fall, so stay tuned for when it's open. And right now, I am focusing more on in real life events. So if you're in San Francisco, I hope to see you at some of my events. You can get all of my upcoming event announcements by subscribing to my newsletter, or you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok, where I share about all this stuff. But thank you so much for listening. And before I sign off, here's my question for you today. What are you doing to fill your self-love cup and connect to the little you? Bye, everyone. I will catch you next time.